If you sat around a table and you said, right, what we need to do is we need to find some way of getting young people to see the world the way we want them to see it, so that by the time they become adults, they are completely following the reality we want them to believe in. Someone might say, well, they might not have it like, but you know the ideal thing? What we do is we have a system where we take children away from their parents at least 5 days a week, all day, from about the age of 4 and 5, and we have control of their minds until they're about 17, 18. That would be ideal. Well, of course, that's what happens. It's called the education system. Yes. And it's indoctrination.
And John D. Rockefeller, I think, voiced the beliefs of this ruling elite that wants to try to homogenize our education system when he was quoted as saying, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. So I think the education system is not only pushing people into a socialized version of government, but also dumbing the individual down to the point to where he'll be a good worker in the factory, or he'll be a good worker in Silicon Valley. He may know a lot about but he is not going to have a classic education that would allow him to take all of the facets of the culture and the society and put it together and really form an intelligent opinion as to what's really going on and what might be in the best interest of the individual.
The brain is two halves of the brain. There's the right brain and there's the left brain, and they have very, very different roles to play, especially in personality. Between them is this bridge called the corpus callosum, which bridges the information, again, information between the two. Now, this is another picture that Neil Haig did for me recently. Symbolically looking at what the right brain and the left brain do. The right brain is out there. It's creativity. It's inspiration. It's the maverick. It's the connection to all that is. It's the greater awareness. And the left brain is about structure. It sees things in parts, not as wholes. It wants things to be structured. It's about language. And it's about organization in a physical way. It's about being what we call, though often that's not what it is, rational thinking. And both sides of the brain are necessary. If you get a right brain person, we've all met them, they're fantastically creative, but they're out on another cloud. There's nothing going on down here. But you get a really imprisoned left brain person, they can't see the connections with anything. They're here. Boom, boom. And this is the target. The left brain. The soldiers on the door. This is a key to understanding this conspiracy. The whole of society is structured to turn people into left brain prisoners who experience reality through that version of perception. Apartness, division, I am Charlie Smith. I must jump over everybody. To succeed, I must be a success. People must say you're successful. That's my identity, that's my sense of self. And so what they do, I mean, look at the system. If you want to progress within the system, this left-brain society we live in, then you have to be very, very good at exams. You go to school, you pass exams. And what are you doing in exams? You're taking information given to you, you're putting it in the left brain, you're holding it, you're regurgitating it out on an exam paper by telling the system what it's told you to believe. If you're very good at that, you go to university. If you're really good at that, you go to Oxford University or Cambridge or Yale or somewhere, unless you've got a few quid, in which case you go anyway like George Bush. Anyway, And then you choose your speciality. If you're very, very good at university at passing exams, boom, 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 then you get great degrees, and then you get your speciality, and you go into being a doctor or being a scientist and being even a politician, all these people. And therefore, all these people that are in the positions of power within the institutions that control and dictate the reality and direction of society are all, by the time they get there, fully paid up prisoners of the left-sodding brain. That's why scientists can't hit most of the mainstream ones, because they're so in ear. How can they understand concepts of reality in ear? They can't. That's rubbish. I can't see it, taste it, hear it, or feel it, so it can't exist. But it does. No, it can't exist. And I'm a scientist. I'm clever. And so, if you look at society, you'll see more as the months go on. You are looking at a society designed to put the centuries across the entrance to that. We become prisoners, and that prison is the prison of the left brain. That's what it is, essentially.
Since the late 19th century, since the time of Darwin, in fact, in part because of Darwin's writing in The Origin of Species, came to accept a convention, a definition of science that excluded the possibility of design as a scientific explanation. And that convention has a name. It's called methodological naturalism. And it just means that if you're going to be scientific, you must limit yourself to explanations that invoke only natural causes. You can't invoke intelligence as a cause.
When we look at the current evidence, the evidence that keeps coming out in the media, we have to ask ourselves, is there an agenda behind it? And you have to realize these paleoanthropologists, if they're not making finds, they don't get research grants, they don't get their name in the paper, they don't get to publish. Nowadays in science it's publish or perish, and they have to have something, and when you're desperate, you've got to come up with something.
Evolution is presented to grown-ups and taught to the very young as a fact that has been verified and demonstrated for so long that it is a waste of time and even ridiculous to question it.
The only defense left to evolutionists against all these scientific facts is just one thing: propaganda. The baseless scenario of the human evolution is imposed on the public by means of imaginary drawings that appear in evolutionist publications. In these drawings, creatures with hairy bodies and simian features are decked out with overtones of human-like motifs. The given impression is that these half-man, half-ape transitional forms did live once. From time to time, drawings present snapshots from the social life of these creatures are made. These misleading drawings are introduced in a particular sequence to engrave the scenario of the human evolution on the subconscious of society.